When you say teach creativity, you don't teach, you make them learn. I think that is the trick of teaching design or teaching creativity. See, each person has to cultivate their own creative thinking. So even with the same problem, same two people are designing, they will think very differently. How do you think and how do you build? But certain things are common. Some problems what we observe will be common. So you depend on the data. But even there is an insight, there is always an insight in each problem. I come from a small town, I was very much interested to draw things, and one of my uncles noticed, draw kar raha hai uska. Then I thought somehow I should learn cartooning, because there was one famous cartoonist who used to draw in Telugu these things, Bapu. So we thought we should also become cartoonists, So I started looking for information, and I found one postal tuition, Ray-Ban cartooning from Delhi. But it was costing some 30 rupees, which was a very big money for me. And from the house I won't get such things. It's too much of a luxury for us. So somehow I used to save my breakfast and everything and collected 6 rupees per month was which we had to send for 5 months. I managed. Then, we started drawing. One of my friend was also there. He also learned from another cartooning school. So we became good friends. Every day we will generate one idea. This was our target, So we will put them and send to the well-known magazines called Andhra Prabha, Andhra Patrika. I was already into the college. Just I had finished my PUC. I went to engineering. So only my mother used to say, no, see that you don't lose that merit cum means scholarship. See, I used to get that. But thing is, see, we are in a small town where there is no exposure, nothing, nobody will encourage, nobody will know these things. So that way we were quite entrepreneurial. So we established, as a cartoonist, I made even my pen name from Gopi to Gopu, because Bapu was famous cartoonist at that time. When we finished engineering, we were looking for jobs, and then advertisement came from NID. So all my friends, everybody got application form. So in that there was a big list, do you know cartooning, do you know painting, do you know sculpture, writing stories. So I could tick so many, and my friends all came, it is for you, man, you apply karke. So I applied, and fortunately I was called for interview in Hyderabad itself, and I was selected. One side, it was all new things. We learned a lot of new things like typography, basic design. Other side, cartooning itself, you realize, okay, oh God, if I have to be into this, I have to just specialize in this. So let me with design, and of course thinking also changed, I used to draw in Telugu. So I had to think now in English. So all that actually inhibited in some way cartooning, but I realized that it's a serious profession. So my whole heart went into design. When we finished, it was 3.5 years. So Professor Nadkarni had come from Ulm, joined us as a faculty. So he came and started IDC. So from NID he came to IDC. Then he invited us, myself and one more colleague, Chattopadhyay. He called both of us to come and join. So we took some time, we finished off our project quicker, and then we came and joined IDC. Here there was nothing, no workshops, just 1 or 2 machines, and nothing was there. But the nature was beautiful. IIT was very large and lot of nature. We could see wild rabbits on the road. So, but there was nothing in the IDC, but there was a whole open thing to build, It was very exciting because Professor Nadkarni told, see, it's not teaching all the time, only 2 days in a week. Then you design. We are designers. IDC started as a small department, but it had a very large framework of thinking from the beginning. We were very, somewhere I would call it a romantic design in the beginning years. We wanted to change the whole country, world. So we took a lot of projects from the rural areas and all that. So a lot of things were designed. Design trains people how to use things as black boxes. In fact, that is how when you talk about electronic voting machine or any other thing, we understand as a blocks. Industrial products dominated, but one good thing happened was also visual communication also coming into the IDC. So moment other branches started, in visual communication, these elements come much more stronger, a social dimension, a cultural dimension. Actually, IIT I found to great advantage. It has a great advantage staying with so many disciplines, because what happens even at NID, all people are only design background people. You have a limited amount of dialogues. Here I have friends from humanities, Professor Subudhi, and he is a sociologist. So in fact he will say, for example, innovation. Now sociologists think innovation is a social process, not one individual achieving. I keep questioning him back to postmodernism, Baudrillard and Bourdieu. Yeah, he introduced, then I bought that book or I used that course. This kind of things. I have a chemist who is very deeply interested in organic chemistry. Another chemist who was working with biosciences, he used to tell, form is so important in fundamental chemistry. In chemistry they were talking about golden proportion. At a very fundamental level, they are all one, and this is something which you can realize here. One of my chemist friend, Professor Deb, who is a Bhatnagar Award winner, he was telling, it's so important for our molecules, three-dimensional geometry. We never teach for our students. So, whereas we introduce three-dimensional geometry to the students, now in our new BDES program and all that, these inputs will go into undergraduate level. So, in fact, I think IDC is going to make the whole engineering education richer. I run a elective called Craft, Creativity and Postmodernism, in which I have a series of tasks which I give to students, and then in the end of the course I have a lot of personal questions I ask, their habits, their background. Then I have a whole data, of that person, like a doctor has got all the background. Then I have a nice discussions for the people who are interested. Students come and they have 3 hours, 4 hours discussions. So because somebody is caught with anger, one boy came last time, so I am angry with certain, I get angry, I can't control. So we went into a process, what is anger, why do you get angry, what are you? So it gets into a basic process of kind of spiritual nature, knowing oneself, reflecting. Creative people nurture this right brain, which is also very emotional. So there is a good balance between left brain and right brain is very important. I gave a simple exercise. Look at a square and a flower in a square. Now, how does a flower fits into a square? Then we go on exploring the various qualities of the flower in various dimensions. Also qualities of visual language, When you are talking about a square, there is a subjective contours which are invisible forms, which implied forms. So all that comes through the experience. You can only show one petal or one part is enough to show the whole thing. So there are many concepts, and at a postgraduate level we discuss this in great detail. What is flowering, Flowering itself is the enlightenment or growing of a person and all that. So this, when we take into the three-dimensional form, I developed a series of exercises in the cubes. It started with one where we just made cut into two identical forms, make into two identical forms. But challenge was, when you open it, there should be a visual surprise. Now, how do we create a visual surprise? That is an aesthetic process. And students had a great difficulty when I gave this exercise. One boy wouldn't budge, and I said, look, what looks beautiful to him? He was a very traditional boy. So he said, I like temples and I sit on the steps. I said, can you bring the steps into the cube? So when you start exploring the steps in the cube, which becomes identical, it becomes very interesting. See, metamorphosis is a concept, how a form changes. We are normally used to in an industrial context, a gradual change, which we have been, as a form transitions, we have been teaching. But metamorphosis is a concept where you can take a butterfly, it is a caterpillar, it becomes a cocoon, and suddenly it comes out. So there are jumps which we can see, like a quantum jumps in the form. This I put into letter forms. For example, a bee becomes a butterfly, but because it became a butterfly, it transforms bee. So bee itself changes in a very different way. So bee is otherwise A, B, C, D, B letter is absolutely abstract, and it has no three-dimensional form. It is just a 2D form, So that was the challenge, and it became a good exercise for developing imagination. See, these are the forms which came out of a basic design exercise, which I developed when I came back from US. I was charged with many ideas. One of them was Wittgenstein's idea of family of forms. What is a family? He talks a lot about family. Whereas in design, we use family of products in a way that, for example, the set of refrigerators are there. There is a smaller, bigger, a boilers are there. A smaller boiler, bigger boiler. So engineers have a concept of just scaling up, smaller to bigger. It would have a same form, but it will get scaled up. In this also, when I gave an exercise, something like that happened. But then I demanded, look, you take a concept. So this is a dumbbell. So another concept was peanut. Now if I take a peanut, see, the peanut can have a papa peanut, mama peanut, kid peanut, daughter peanut. So how does the form change? So the peanut has a essential form, threeness, and that becomes an essential form of that family. Family resemblance is very interesting because the look is not exactly same, but just maybe a smile is same, or a nose is same in everybody. We immediately recognize, oh, this person belongs to that family, Some features just get distinguished and they remain same. So this concept I took up and asked students to create turn forms as a basis. They are learning also turning and forms in turning. So take any entity and see a kind of essence of form, which will remain, but in a family it can change different forms. So can this concept go into products or somewhere will be a later our thinking. Expressions are one thing which I started developing as a simple language to understand form, because there was, when it comes to product forms, there is a lot of feeling that it's all subjective, People use vague language. It's only subjective, there is no objective form which we can think of. Then what I did was, I took opposites, soft, hard. So what I said is, a product looks soft, it is your own interpretation, but you cannot see it as hard, this is opposite. So is there elements which define softness, and are there elements which define hardness? So we can take a product, a spectacle. So we start looking at how does a soft spectacle look at, how does a hard left. Then we say how does a precise spectacle will be looking, and how does a rugged spectacle will be looking. So some elements will change, which are a fine kind of a joints will not be there in a rugged this thing. The same will express like in a rugged natural forms, maybe in the tire, in a tree, you may look at everywhere, you abstract those elements and bring into this form as expressions. There was a competition from Sony that we want advanced telephone concepts. This was way back in 91, where all these new telephones were not there. They said technology is no problem, but we want a new concepts. So where do you go for new concepts? So 1 week they were working and they could not, they are all similar to the existing concept. Then I put a constraint arbitrary. Let us take letter forms. We have a wealth of forms in our languages, so many languages. So take any letter form and convert into a telephone. A letter form exists in 2 dimensions. How does it become 3 dimensional? So it can become into any way, So this they converted into telephones, and one of them, a Tamil letter O, he converted, which became a part of it became to wear as a ornament rather than as a headphone. So this became attractive. When he submitted the design, so he got a Sony award. It's a very unique place. It's a bamboo studio, probably one of its kind in the world. Behind this is an inspiration which started in 70s. I went to Ranchi and we saw some tribal people and one tribal shop. One small piece was being sold. This was a beautiful basket with a tetrahedral shape. We were japped when we saw that, this can be as modern and at the same time made by a tribal person who is considered uneducated. And it's a most advanced form. I see the tetrahedral form with radius. We have not seen such advanced form. Then if you see, this was used for a sieve, but it was only costing ₹1.60. This really mesmerized me. This you can say the starting point into the bamboo entry. So now I see it slowly grew into a interest. See, there are 3 interests if you look at bamboo. One is we have a great tradition, which unlike Western countries, we will be missing if we do not take care of it to how to sustain it. Second is, there are something like 13.5 lakh people in the country who practice this and they are slowly leaving it. Somewhere it is not sustainable as a living. Third is bamboo. Bamboo is a eco-friendly material. It should be seen as a new material, not as a past material. Here is a design far superior where a certain order, maybe an implicate order behind thinking and what we call as evolution of design. It has evolved over a time into this, by trial and error into a beautiful design. Now, we need to look at design in a new way. Can we look at the implicate orders which are in the design? Because we have been only looking at mechanistic orders which have come from industrial revolutions. But social order, the order of the material, usage, and culture, this can give lot bigger inspiration to design. That will be the future of design. see, this is specially made with a ring and this way. So like a positive negatives are explored as if like a yin and yang, a philosophical kind of statement comes. Once you put a lamp, a beautiful, dispersion of light comes. Here is a trade which can give you meaningful living and maybe happy living, plus an advanced design as an inspiration. But can we fit into a modern context where they can also make enough money? This has not been happening today. I think this is one important question for design to address. That is what we have been addressing. Not just 70% of people work and they have a lot of tradition. So we got a big project for developing tools. Then we went on making trips. I have traveled all over the Northeast, and every time I go, I collect one beautiful basket. Some of these black baskets, these are all picked up from the Naga houses where they make it and hang in the kitchen. So the soot which forms becomes a protective coating. So bamboo has been a traditional basketry and things, products which are used, and they are highly developed in the weave forms. So that's what interested us. And weave forms have not been explored as industrial forms because West never had bamboo craft. So they don't have even bamboo. So these forms itself now can become a new inspiration for industrial forms because it gives us strength. I think it is not just modern, it will go into postmodern design, because modern design is based on the industrial revolution. Now postmodern is discovering all the problems of modernization, centralization, the union problem, trade problems, unhappiness of the worker. Now postmodernism is looking at happy working. Is it possible? Creative work, is it possible? Now this craft can produce a postmodern structure where a designer can work with a small group, give them a number of designs. This is another postmodern feature. I can produce a number of designs. My feeling is design has changed in a very way. Interestingly, designer used to be thinking that I am the designer, I will give. This was the one context earlier. Great designers, Eames will do. But slowly people discovered you are a part of the team. You are a part of the whole team. You are not the designer, dictate everything, So all fields are getting connected in this of design, fundamentals. So as a designer now, you need not think only as a product designer, but you would have your specialty. At the same time, when you go outside, look, you have to understand culture, you have to understand anthropology, because they are all getting encoded into this form. Looking holistically and integrated way, design, that is a must. Now I am seeing it what David Bohm called as implicate order, which will go as a very fundamental thing. Everything manifests, information manifests into the material, products. So it carries on social orders, so on and so forth. So many things get into that. This makes design very rich in terms of profession. It can go into the levels of filmmaking or something like that, where the filmmakers talk about their philosophies, they bring their thought processes into the film, which we were not looking at product that way. See, we were only thinking that, okay, material is there, demand is there, consumer survey karo, so you design that, it should be easy to produce and all that. But there are much richer, deeper dimensions of products. We need to look at how people relate. So there are some films where you see, person relates to the vehicle as a spirit or spirited living thing. So for us, each product becomes in some sense a living thing. In fact, David Bohm brings like that. There is a life even in the material things. So we cannot say there is no life, and each product takes its own life.